What if you're not just afraid of heartbreak? What if you're afraid of love itself? Think about it. The greatest love stories of all time aren't just about love that lasts. They're about love that ends. You walk out of movies like La La Land or Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind feeling devastated, yet strangely satisfied. Why? Because you're conditioned that heartbreak is proof that you felt something real. Like love isn't valid unless it hurts. But what if that's a lie? What if the very thing that makes you feel love is actually keeping you from experiencing it fully? Philosophers like Soren Kierkegaard and Roland Barthes spent their lives untangling this. Why love stories that hurt feel way more profound than love stories that last. But here's the real twist. Maybe the greatest tragedy isn't your heartbreak. Maybe it's that you're afraid of ordinary love. Ordinary love that you only let yourself believe in when it's too late. There's no exquisite beauty without some strangeness in proportion. That's Edgar Allan Poe. One of the greatest reasons why we romanticize heartbreak is because we see it as something more real than happiness. Joy feels fleeting, like a temporary high, but pain, it lingers. We trust sadness because it demands to be felt. It's undeniable and inescapable. This is Soren Kierkegaard's concept of infinite resignation. Kierkegaard, the father of existentialism, believed in a concept called infinite resignation, the idea that love often requires sacrificing it. He argued that the deepest, most authentic version of love is the love that we can't have, because it forces us to live with eternal longing. Think of La La Land. Sebastian and Mia love each other, but they walk away from each other because of their dreams. Is that real love? Call Me by Your Name, when Elio stares into the fire at the end, not moving on, but letting his pain consume him. These movies convince us that if love was painless, it wouldn't be meaningful. That true love must be longed for rather than lived in. The greater the love, the greater the tragedy when it's over. Some of the greatest love stories in history, Romeo and Juliet, Titanic, Wuthering Heights, end in death, tragedy, or separation. And yet we keep coming back to them. Why? It comes back to a philosophical concept from Friedrich Nietzsche called Dionysian love. Nietzsche believed that there are two kinds of art. Apollonian, which is like rational, balanced, and structured, and Dionysian, which is chaotic and emotional and tragic. The deepest forms of passion that he argued are Dionysian. They burn fast and they burn bright, and they often destroy themselves in the process. Romance movies tap into this idea. A tragic ending feels more intense, more all-consuming, more poetic, whereas a happy ending feels just kind of okay. We glorify heartbreak because it lets us believe that we loved with intensity, that we felt something so powerful it had to destroy us. This is why people look back at their past relationships with nostalgia, even if they were extremely painful. A love that ended dramatically feels more significant than a love that just faded away peacefully. I have been in love with someone who will never love me back, and that is unrequited love that I shall cherish forever. That's Roland Barthes from A Lover's Discourse. There's a reason why people make sad playlists after a breakup, make poetry after loss, walk through the rain dramatically as if they're in a music video. Barthes argued that love is fundamentally performative, that we experience love in metaphors, symbols, and narratives, rather than in reality. He argues that heartbreak is one of the most literary emotions that we can feel. When we're heartbroken, we're not just suffering. We are playing the role of the heartbroken one. We lean into sadness because it makes us feel like the protagonist in a tragic story. Think about films like Blue Valentine or Eternal Sunshine. These movies don't just show love, they show the act of losing love. The cinematography, the music, the non-linear storytelling. It's all about crafting heartbreak as an aesthetic experience. We don't just watch it, we feel it. Happiness writes white. That's from Henry de Motherland. There's a reason why happy endings always kind of fall flat. We don't believe them. Happiness often feels like a full stop or an endpoint in narrative. But heartbreak, that lingers. This is related to Albert Camus' philosophical concept of the absurdity of love. Camus argues that life is inherently meaningless and that we search for meaning in things that ultimately fail us. Love, he argued, is one of the greatest pursuits of absurdity, because even if it's fulfilling, it always ends in either separation or death. When a romance movie ends in tragedy, it aligns with what we secretly fear for, that happiness isn't permanent, just like love. This is why the movies like Brokeback Mountain or One Day feel more real or truer than other romance movies. A happy ending feels naive. A tragic one feels earned. Okay, so here's the problem with why we glorify heartbreak. We trust pain more than happiness. We believe that suffering is proof that we loved deeply. Because we hurt so much, it means that love was real. Right? But here's my stance. This obsession with heartbreak, it's a trap. It tricks us into equating love with longing, as if the only way to feel something profound is for it to be taken away from us. We chase heartbreak because it makes us feel like main characters. We turn pain into poetry, into Instagram captions, and into late-night texts that we never send. And that feels significant because it feels like art. It feels like a narrative. But here's the paradox. The more we romanticize heartbreak, the less we recognize the love that lasts. We dismiss steady and healthy love as boring because it doesn't have the drama or intensity. It doesn't have the cinematic devastation. But that's a lie that we've been sold, a lie that says only love that burns is worth remembering. In reality, love that stays is profound. It doesn't just demand to be performed. Think about it. The happiest relationships don't end in some grand, tragic crescendo. They don't end at all. We just don't celebrate those stories because they don't fit the heartbreak as art aesthetic. So here's my theory. We're not just scared of losing love, we're scared of having it. Because having it means we stop being in a fantasy. It stops being poetry. It becomes real. And reality, that's harder to control than nostalgia.